Hello, everyone. You're watching, listening, tuning into another installment of Sound Money. I'm Bryson, and today we're going to talk about why Bitcoin is becoming too scarce. I feel like there's not enough Bitcoin to buy at this point, even though that's objectively not the case. I just feel like Bitcoin is becoming too scarce, and the average person will not be able to buy Bitcoin in the very near future. I just have this fear that I'm not buying enough, even though I'm buying just as much as my lifestyle allows right now, with the amount of money I'm making. I just, for some reason, I already feel like I'm too late, even though I know I'm very early. Like Bitcoin's market cap is only at 2 trillion. Michael Saylor's talking about we could get to 20 trillion, 10x in just a few short years, but I feel like I'm so late. I don't know why I feel like this because I'm steadily accruing Bitcoin. I have more Bitcoin than way more Bitcoin than the average person. And so I don't know. I feel like I'm late, even though in reality I'm still early. And then it's also this kind of thing where I'm like kicking myself in the foot because I was buying Bitcoin in 2020 and 2021, and I didn't have anything crazy. I had like $1,000, $2,000 worth of Bitcoin, but that's still a lot of Bitcoin back in 2021's prices. And I sold my Bitcoin instead of selling. So I needed to move and I like needed to like some extra money. And I sold my Bitcoin rather than sell my money that was I had in some high yield savings account. And my rationale was like, oh, I can always buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a volatile asset. Bitcoin's a alternative asset. I didn't really have the conviction that I have now. So even though I didn't sell a whole Bitcoin, I'm still kicking myself because it's like I sold Bitcoin and you never ever sell your Bitcoin. I don't know. I needed to hop on and vent my frustrations with this. So what we're looking at right now is the distribution chart for Bitcoin. As we can see, if you own even zero point 0.1 Bitcoin, you are in the top 8% of addresses in the world. And we know that maybe only 5% of the world owns Bitcoin. There might be only 300 million people that actually own any Bitcoin out of the 8 billion people on the planet. And so if you own zero point 0.1 Bitcoin, you're doing pretty well. And if you just hold that zero point 0.1 Bitcoin, you're going to be a multi millionaire in the future. We know that for certain. Bitcoin's going to 1 million. It could go to zero. That's highly unlikely, especially with the institutions that are in the space now. We're just not going backwards. It's just not happening. But in general, it just seems like the whales just have so much Bitcoin and us average retail investors just being left behind, even though it's objectively not the case. Like there's more than enough Bitcoin for retail investors to buy, but for some reason, I feel like we're being left behind. Michael Saylor is buying $1 billion of Bitcoin on a regular basis. BlackRock's buying a lot of Bitcoin on a regular basis. So BlackRock just bought $42 million worth of Bitcoin the other week. ARK with Kathy was just bought $82 million worth of Bitcoin the other week. And as a retail investor, how am I supposed to buy that much Bitcoin all at once? And it just feels like these $1,000, $500 buys that I'm doing is not enough, even though I'm like doing it very consistently. And I am in this zero point 0.1 to 1 Bitcoin, 8% of addresses. I just feel like I don't have enough Bitcoin. And it's like you can never not have enough Bitcoin. And how can us retail investors really buy as much Bitcoin as we can? And I was talking about this in a recent Instagram post I made. My Instagram is a Sound Money, same name as my YouTube channel. And I was talking about how if you want to buy more Bitcoin, you have to provide value to others and value to your community, whether that be at your job, you doing the work of three people, or you providing knowledge to people, that's going to be the only way that you're going to be able to increase your income to buy more Bitcoin, is providing value to other people. And when you provide value to other people, people begin to lean on you and pour into you. And that is when everything will fall into place. You'll start increasing your income tenfold, and the amount of Bitcoin you will be able to buy will significantly increase. That's what I'm really focused on right now. Is I'm not focused on buying as much Bitcoin as I can. I'm focused on providing as much value to the people around me as I can. And I believe if I do that, then all the Bitcoin that is meant for me, I will be able to buy if I provide value to other people. And so that's definitely the goal of the content that I've been creating. I want to provide value to people. I want to buy more Bitcoin by doing that. And so as a retail investor, you really should not get discouraged. If you have even this 0.001 Bitcoin right here, zero point 0.1 Bitcoin, you are still in the top 23% of addresses in the entire world. And you have to understand, that's not 23% of the population. That's 23% of people who own Bitcoin, which we know not many people in the entire world own Bitcoin. So you're doing well. My goal is definitely to get to 1 Bitcoin. I want to have 1 Bitcoin in 2025. That is my goal. I believe it will happen, especially if prices keep coming down. I hope prices keep coming down, honestly. I hope we get to a $50,000 Bitcoin. That will be honestly amazing. It just will allow me to buy more Bitcoin. So this is the Bitcoin Treasuries website, and this shows basically the distribution of Bitcoin amongst a couple of different categories: private companies, governments, DeFi, smart contracts, ETFs, public companies, and then it also shows the price of Bitcoin at each of these junctures. And so, as we can see, the private company that owns the most Bitcoin is MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy owns, at this point, more than 500,000 Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor has said the goal is to get to 1 million Bitcoins this year. And they're definitely going to get to 1 million Bitcoin this year. Our ETFs, like the IBIT ETF that BlackRock has put out, is nearing 1.3 million Bitcoin. They're definitely going to get to 2 million Bitcoin, if not 2.5 million Bitcoin by the end of this year. And I don't know. I feel like when you look at these numbers and you see there's 1.3 million Bitcoin in the ETFs, and that's soon to be 2 million, and MicroStrategy is going to have 2 million, and the U.S. government is buying Bitcoin, and China has Bitcoin. It just feels like, as a retail investor, like we're being left behind. But I objectively know there's still a lot of time to buy Bitcoin for us, even though we know that the supply on the exchanges and the OTC markets is rapidly decreasing. So I don't want to come across as saying, oh, we have time. We don't have time. We do not have time. We need to start buying Bitcoin now if you have not started buying Bitcoin. But it just feels like retail investors are being left behind, and what was supposed to be decentralized and for the people is going to end up not being for the people. And I don't know. The thing is, it won't be because it's really the institution's fault. It's because the people's fault. Bitcoin has been around for a while, and nobody's paying attention. Maybe because we're not having these aggressive prices upward. Like, you would think with all the institutional buying that we're getting each week, it just seems like every single day there's new news of a central bank or a state or what have you is buying Bitcoin. The price seems like it should be at like $500,000 a coin by now, but it's not. And so it feels very weird why the price is at $82,000 right now. But all these institutions are buying $100 million, $200 million, $1 billion just pockets of Bitcoin. And it's like, why is the price so low? I'm not complaining. This is when retail investors should really be taking advantage, is when the price is low like this. Because what's happening is the price will shoot up from the institutions buying. Everybody will get in, including retail investors, and then the price will go down and retail investors will exit the market. The last few weeks, we've had record outflows of Bitcoin ETFs. So when everybody's fearful, now the institutions are getting even more greedy and they're just buying the dips. I'm not doing that. I'm buying Bitcoin every single chance I get, every week I get, every chance I get paid. I'm trying to increase my income, provide more value so I can buy more Bitcoin. This is definitely the most important thing that is going to happen in our lifetimes when Bitcoin becomes the standard. And I don't want to be left behind. I don't think, just with the amount of Bitcoin I have right now, I'm in this zero point 0.1 to 1 Bitcoin balance. So I feel like I'm doing pretty well in terms of retail investors, but it just feels like I'm behind and I want more Bitcoin and I want to sell my foot for more Bitcoin. Maybe not my foot. I don't know. I want to sell my lungs. Something I don't need. Do you need your appendix? I don't think you need your appendix. I'll sell that for more Bitcoin. But whatever I can do, I just want to buy more Bitcoin. I know that as a retail investor, it can be somewhat disheartening to see these large numbers when these institutions are buying Bitcoin, but you have to understand the institutions, no matter what industry we are in, are always going to control the market. That's the point of being a whale. You're going to make the biggest ripples in the ocean. As a little tiger shark, you just got to ride the waves. You got to ride the waves and don't sell your Bitcoin like I did in 2020 and 2021. Will never sell my Bitcoin ever again. You just got to really stay in and not get discouraged by the whales. And what we do know is that a lot of whales will probably end up selling some of their Bitcoin. Just at a certain point, when you own 5,000 Bitcoin, you're going to sell some just to fund your lifestyle. You might need to liquidate. You might need to reallocate some of your portfolio, what have you. When you have that much Bitcoin, it makes sense to sell a little bit of it. If you have 5,000 Bitcoin and you sell 100 Bitcoin, you're going to be fine. But that's 100 Bitcoin on the market that a retail investor can buy. And 100 Bitcoin for a retail investor is going to absolutely change generations of your family. And so keep buying Bitcoin. So this has been my rant today, my fearful but optimistic rant, because we have a lot of time to buy Bitcoin, but it just definitely feels like the supply is rapidly decreasing. But I like that I'm having this fear because it's lighting a fire under me that it's making the fire burn even hotter for the amount of Bitcoin that I need to buy. And I want to do anything I can to buy as much Bitcoin as I can. And so I'm just going to provide as much value to other people and help out my community as much as I can. And if I do that, then the amount of Bitcoin that I own will be taken care of. So I appreciate you all for tuning in, watching, being here for another installment of Sound Money. I'm Bryson. Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, The Sound Money. And I'm out. Remember, buy more Bitcoin.